so high, so fly, so fly, so high, so high, so.
And welcome back, everybody, to another edition of TSFA Live, powered by Tay's Newsletter, your new home for Texas six-man football. TSFA Live can be seen exclusively on sixmanfootball.net. I'm your host, Dante Evans, and unfortunately my co-host Marcel Noden isn't here with us this week, but he will be returning within the coming weeks. I want to start off by talking about something very serious within our football community. Staph is a very serious infection and can be prevented by taking just a few precautions on the sidelines and after the game. We encourage teams, players, and coaches to keep first aid kits on the sideline and to clean up their scrapes, bruises, and cuts throughout the game and after the game. By taking these steps, we can all do our part in preventing this more and more common infection. Well, folks, we're finally here to where the road begins to the playoffs and the April Cup. Non-conference play is over, and it's time to separate the men from the boys, the pretenders from the contenders. We're going to start off by talking about the North, who have really showed that they are the stronger conference this year. In years past, the South has really been a dominant conference, but the North is showing that they have a lot of playoff caliber teams that can make it and have what it takes to get to the April Cup. We're going to start off by talking about the Outlaws, who are 3-0 and putting up 33.3 points a game. Not only that, they're third in the league, allowing just 17 points a game. A lot of these wins have, or one or two of these wins have come to some of the lower teams or teams that haven't been so good this year. They've beaten the Wolverines, the Rhinos, and the Cowboys. The Wolverines and the Cowboys are kind of iffy games. Those are games that I think they're expected to win. However, a lot of people said that they weren't going to do so good this year. But nonetheless, they're 3-0. They've gotten the job done and taken care of business so far. They have a really good running back, and their running game is really going to help them win a lot of these conference games coming up. Some of their games that are coming up in conference, or at least this week, is the Bandits, aka the the Warriors. Bandits, Warriors. It doesn't matter what you call them. Somebody please put it on the message board to their official name, because nobody really knows. But the Bandits, aka the Warriors, they look really, really good in their first couple of games. However, I don't think they've adjusted to the speed of the game, and it's still taking them a few weeks, and it's going to take them a few weeks to really get it down. They face an Outlaw team who is just great on defense. They don't allow too many points, and they have a lot of veteran players on their team. Expect this game to be a very good game. However, the Outlaws, with this momentum they have going so far and resting up last week with the bye, I expect this team to be on top. And looking at some of their upcoming games throughout the week, they're facing the Bucks, the Revolution, also the Panthers. Who else we got? We got the Phoenix, and they end their season against the Longhorns, which is going to be a really, really good game, because that's going to be a rivalry game right there. Expect some of the sparks to fly in that game. Seeing how they have a lot of tough games coming up and how the North is so tough, we can expect to see this team make the playoffs as maybe a 2 or 3 seed. I don't see them getting it at that last spot. I think they're too good for that. But expect this team to be well within the playoff mix and to make a lot of noise this year. We're going to move on to the champs. The team, they didn't look so good. A lot of people didn't know that they lost Tim Weezer and their head coach due to some problems within the organization. But this team has really bounced back first game. Since then, they've won 3 straight. They've beaten a couple of teams such as the Renegades, which was a very good game. They won that game 13-12. And then they've also had a couple of close games against the Rhinos, and then also a gimme game against the Cowboys. But this team is is really coming on strong. They're learning how to play without Tim, and it's really carrying them and taking them a long way. They're still a tough team, and nobody should sleep on this team or put it past them that they're still the defending champs. And they have a tough road ahead because everybody is gunning for them, but they made the necessary adjustments in order to get to the playoffs and possibly the April Cup. I don't see them getting that far again, but this is still a tough team, and they still have a lot of players minus Tim intact. And just because you lose your quarterback doesn't mean that your stock should drop. But I think theirs has dropped just a notch or two. And to tell you the truth, I see them getting into that number 2 spot. I don't see them as a top seed this year. I really don't. If they don't get that number 2 spot, then they will get that number 1 spot. I think they're still superior than some of these other teams in the North, and they look pretty good. We're gonna move on to the Phoenix. The Phoenix, I told everybody before the season started not to sleep on this team, and a lot of you have. The Phoenix, they come to play every week, and they don't care who you are or what you've done in the past. They're coming to win every single week. They're not just showing up. Coach Matthews has done a great job with this team and has his team ready to play each and every week. They've reeled off 3 straight. They also have a pretty good offense, scoring 26.3 points a game. They're coming along. They're coming along, and they're going to be a team to be reckoned with. And don't be surprised if they do make the playoffs. If they're going to give the number 1 or number 2 seed hell. I don't see them getting the top slots, but they will squeeze in at that number 3 or number 4 slot to make the playoffs. Let's take a look at some of the wins that they've had throughout the weeks. On the winning streak, they've beaten the Cowboys, which was a gimme game. They've also beaten the Wrecking Crew, who haven't fared so well. But that's still a quality win in my book. And then just recently, they beat